Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show where we dive into some weird and wacky equipment and wonderful, call it whatever you want music. I'm Andy from 2 Round Robins, and I hope you're ready for some hexagonal plate music using this lovely device from Hex. Quick disclaimer here. Hex Core and its effect brother Lag were kindly provided by the duo from hex.haus in return for a video. No money was thrown around, but I'm able to keep these lovely doohickeys. These two instruments were developed by the so-called post-alternative millennials, an artistic duo with a vision for pretty neat aesthetics. Also, I should mention that they are from my hometown of Slovenia, or Ljubljana in Slovenia, so I guess these types of collabs were to happen eventually. You could get them already assembled or as a DIY kit. I got this core thing here already assembled, while this was a DIY kit that I built myself, and I found the build quite easy and enjoyable. And as you can see, the devices here do have some similarities. Core, the hexagonal beehive looking thing, is a digital polyphonic synth, and Lag is a trapezoid shaped thing. It's more or less a lo-fi effect unit or a delay effect. On the next episode, I'm mostly gonna focus on Lag here in combination with Core, while this episode will mostly be about Core, the polyphonic synth, so let's just get right into it. So now that we have our Core hooked up, I think it's a perfect time to explore this thing a bit. One of the more iconic parts of Core is the capacitive keyboard, which is a joy to play on. And because of its polyphony, of course, you can play chords or harmonies. And as you can hear, it's tuned to a major scale. However, you can change that to a minor by doing a bit of knob magic. So by moving the octave to the minimum and then the waveform to the other side, if I turn it back, we can get minor. However, to my understanding, you're pretty much stuck to these two modes, but this hasn't proven to be a burden, at least for me, since I'm a very basic boy which enjoys his basic diatonic scales. Now, moving on to the sound, you might hear that it's quite noisy, a bit lo-fi, which again, for my personal use, I actually prefer. However, you can shape the sound quite a bit by changing the waveform. So we have some sine wave things here, then square waves, some more ringy stuff here. And of course, you can also change the octave. So for example, if you want a real bassy sound, you can do this. Real sub. Or you can put it a lot of higher. So yeah, that's quite a lot, and of course you can use decay as well. So one cool thing that I like to do with the decay button is basically turn Core here into a drone machine by basically turning the decay to the maximum. And then if I move the waveform, I can basically change the sound on a whim. And if I move, I can use this as a performance element just by jumping from one waveform to the other. So yeah. Now, one thing that this thing also has is a dedicated looper. Now this has proven to be quite challenging for me, at least for me to understand how this thing works. But I think I cracked the code, and it all has to do with, you know, lights here, which I hope that you guys can see. So we have two lights here. So it all has to do with lights here and me reading the manual once, you know. So in order how to understand this, you have your speed knob here, and your speed light, which basically tells you the sync, so how fast the recorded material is gonna be. And then the length button of the loop here also has this little thing here, which is a little light that indicates the end of the loop. So we can take this into the advantage if we basically just look at this thing, and let's say, for example, that we want a shorter loop, and I just press this button here, and then so as you can hear, I messed up the recording, but you get the idea, right? And of course I can change the speed, or I can slow it down. Now, if I slow it down, it'd be great if we basically had like a longer decay. Well, luckily you can change that by moving the waveform to the max here and then changing the decay time. You can hear that we can change the decay on the recorded material. So that's quite nice. Now, if I change the length, I change the length of the loop, right? But you can also change the window. And that can be done by basically turning the octave knob to the maximum and then turning the decay knob. And this is always the tricky part because... there we go. Okay. There we go, we changed it. So the thing here is that my brain is basically saying, oh, you can just turn the decay knob, but I've got to be really, really precise with turning, so I really have to listen for it. Because the thing is, this thing can really, really record a long loop, like it can record a really long loop. So, you know, you really have to be, at least for me, as I understand, you kind of have to be careful how much of this you're gonna record and use and manipulate and all that stuff. So these are the knob combos that are pretty cool. Now, one thing also that we should mention here is basically, I'm just gonna try to put it down there so it doesn't really, you know, so it's not that bothersome. And I can think when I try to explain stuff. But there's also these things here. And I don't know if the camera has it. I think it does. It showcases. So these things here are basically, there are a couple of holes on this side of the core, which are the header pins. Now, if you have like something like a little wire here, like this thing, I'm just gonna try to, and if you have this wire here, you can try to connect these things and create a bit of modulation. Now, what we can do is, let's try to experiment a bit, okay? I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna use like a longer loop, for example. So I'm just gonna try to see, okay, so here it's blinking. It's blinking. Okay, so let's say we can try to use a longer loop by using different waveforms. Okay, let's try it. Okay. Okay, I think we have something. So you get the idea. Now, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to basically put this thing. I'm gonna try to manipulate the decay here with core's own output. Okay, let me try it again. I think I fucked up the combo here. So as you can hear, what's happening now is basically like this. The output is modulating the decay, and because we have the octave to the maximum, it's basically changing the loop window. And you can glitch out this thing quite a bit. So you can kind of, you know, have it so it's generating different loop points for you while you do this. So it's quite handy, quite great. So yeah, now that we kind of looked into what Hex can do, or at least scratching the surface what it can do, let's try to see what else we can use Hex for. So for me, core is an aesthetically pleasing instrument that for its size adds a lot of tone and character. For some time now, I've been searching for a rather simple polyphonic synth for outside sessions, and this thing proves to be quite a great contender since I can easily just throw it into the bag and, you know, later have something to throw into the effect unit. So in this little scenario, I have core connected to peterlin, which creates a lovely destructive soundscape that combines the lo-fi qualities of core and the analog filters of peterlin. I'm also connecting all of this to the shield, which is going to be my main audio mangler. And as you can see, all of these devices are pretty small, pretty portable in their own right, so let's just try and have fun with them and see what we can come up with. Alright, so let's just try to make like a bit of drones and just record a bit of dronage. Like, I'm just gonna hold here. I'm gonna wait for the light to hit. So I don't know, I'm just trying to see if the camera can see. So the light will come eventually, or I can, you know, just start playing. So now it's all kind of mangled up because I didn't really look at the light. I'm just trying to improvise for now. Okay, let's see, peterlin, what do you got? Alright. Let's try to get... Or even better. So there you go. While core doesn't include some things that I would find like an awesome additions, like scale changes that are more than major and minor, or you know, more time warpy modulations, I find that for the price, it's lovely addition to your setup. If you enjoyed this jam, I also created a little sample library for the hex core sine wave sound in combination with the destructive nature of peterlin, which is available on my Patreon as a monthly goodie. You can support me for just around $5 a month and get some cool goodies along the way. You can also do that by subscribing, liking this video and commenting. So yeah, do that. And the usual shtick that I like to do is that most importantly, you know, have a great rest of your evening, morning or afternoon, whenever you might be watching. And do take care. Till next time.